started. Hello everyone, my name is Moran. I'm the Future Pupil Program Co-ordinator at the University of Law. It is a bit of a mouthful, I know, but it essentially just means I have a pupillage secured with exchange chambers. That's a criminal pupillage starting in September next year up in Liverpool. And I've just finished my bar course and combined masters at the University of Law earlier this year. So in the in-between year, I'm working in this role, sort of helping everybody else get pupillage, because we're not too far apart and I understand exactly how it feels. But my email is on that slide there if anybody does need any advice, application reviews, interview tips, absolutely anything, please do come to me and I'm more than happy to help. And like I say, the QR code is on there if you're interested in the bar course at ULaw as well. It will also be on the inside, so not to worry about that. But just firstly, I thought I'd talk a little bit about the actual bar course at the University of Law, and particularly why I selected the University of Law to study my bar course. The advocacy is a real sort of main selling point of the University of Law. They do not exaggerate when they say 50 hours plus of advocacy training. You will be on your feet doing advocacy from day one. Which is terrifying when you start. Your hands will be shaking, your voice will be quavering, but it's a safe environment and everybody can sort of have a laugh with it. You'll get criticism, you'll get harsh feedback, but you learn so quickly. And that's something that really interested me. Obviously, going into crime, I want to be doing advocacy every single day, really. So, yeah. We also have a selections process, which essentially just means your class sizes will be smaller and you'll be working alongside students of the same caliber as you are. So often you'll have to rely on the other students in your class. You'll be acting as counsel, your co-student will be acting as the witness. So you'll need them to learn the material and you'll work with them as well. We also have a dedicated careers team. Now, honestly, even if I didn't work for the University of Law, I would actually rant and rave about the careers team. And they are incredible. They got me to pupillage. I had, from the start of the pupillage cycle, weekly appointments, weekly one-to-ones. They reviewed every single one of my applications multiple times. We did mock interview workshops, we did mock interviews. Even just to go to them for advice is, it's really nice to have that support there as well. As I say, you'll be doing advocacy from day one. So our BPC isn't split into two parts. I know some providers do it differently, but we do advocacy and litigation from day one. So by the time you get to your exams at the end of the year, you'll have been learning your core knowledge skills for about 9 months. So you've got plenty of time to revise. So when it comes to that final revision period, well, you will be incredibly stressed. You've already built that knowledge there. And the advocacy too. By the time you get to pupillage interviews, you'll have done bail applications. You'll have learned plea and mitigation, civil submissions. So if you're asked to do that in a first or second round, you're ready to go then because you've already learned the actual skills. We also offer the LLM as well. So of course, mainly for student finance, but I did the pro bono LLM and I got so much experience from that. I shadowed a mental health barrister. I did legal advice clinics in employment. I did a presentation in family. I did a marshalling scheme, a mini pupillage scheme. And then I was asked to sort of write a report after that as well. So yes, it's great for student finance, but the options on the LLM will help you to pupillage as well. So a big question, how do you actually fund your bar course? And it's an understandable concern. How I funded my BPC, I actually finished my undergraduate degree, so I did an LLB, and then I took over a year out to work as a paralegal. I actually paralegaled in personal injury, which was very interesting, considering I want to go into crime, but it was so useful. Not only did it allow me to sort of build up my experience over that time, so I was confident enough to go into the bar course and do well, but it also allowed me to save money and apply for an Inns of Court scholarship. In terms of funding, Inns of Court scholarships should be your main priority. They have so much money to give. If you've not already applied for one and you're thinking of the bar course, please do research them because they want to give you them. So absolutely do that. In terms of actually choosing your inn, like I say, the priority should be scholarships. The inns are different. They're not that different, but they do have sort of various things to offer. one of them being scholarship. So have a look at the application form questions and the reference requirements. So which application do you think you can succeed best in? So in a temple for me, that's my aim. Ask on your application for advocacy experience. And I knew that was something that that was stronger on my application that would get me sort of further along in the process. Some ins also ask for all your module grades, for example. So if that's something you feel you're really strong on, if you've got first class grades in your undergraduate degree and you want to get that on paper, fantastic. Equally, if you're falling behind in some grades, maybe that's either not the application for you, or you've just got to spin it in a different way to show that you've got that ability there. But definitely analyze all the applications. Have a look at the INS approach to interviews as well. So Inner Temple and Middle Temple offer every candidate an interview. So I know personally, I feel I succeed better in an interview than on my written application form. So I just wanted to get myself in that room, whatever way possible. So that is why one of the reasons I chose Inner Temple. Equally, there will be some people here that feel that they can succeed better in a written application, and your experience is strong. You've got plenty of experience under your belt, and you feel you can get through to that interview. So that can be a great way to go as well. It is personal, but definitely something to consider. Have a look at their approach to finances for scholarships as well. So Inner Temple and Middle Temple always conduct a financial assessment. So prioritizing socioeconomic mobility at the bar and sort of assessing how much you actually need to get through your bar course. Grays and Lincolns doing merit testing over sort of means. So just have a feel, have a look around and see what you feel suits you. Of course, the scholarship pots and the types of scholarship available can really help as well. And that comes with sort of the other scholarships that the INS offer, so maybe not financial scholarships, but I did the past year within a temple for students from non-traditional backgrounds, and that gave me a mini pupillage and some skills experience as well. But all the INS offer similar experiences, so mentoring, marshalling, mini pupillage schemes. Have a look on their website, see what they offer, and take every opportunity that is offered to you. The size and character of the INS, if you're sort of looking for a bigger and more sort of diverse inn, maybe Inner and Lincoln's are the ones for you. Grays and Middle are a little bit smaller. They tend to take less members and maybe a little bit more traditional. So whatever fits in with your personality, wherever you feel at home, that's the way to go for your INS. Other sources of funding for the bar course, I've spoken a little bit about the Masters. It's a great way to go. It's very popular, and we do offer 3 options at ULaw. So we do the pro bono, the dissertation option, and the optional modules as well. ULaw also offer advocacy scholarships. So when you apply for a place at ULaw, you can tick if you want to be considered for an advocacy scholarship. You'll then be assessed on that in your interview, and hopefully you will be awarded one. And that's obviously another way to sort of build up your finances and funding to get you through that very expensive year on the bar course. So, pupillage applications. It's always going to be stressful. It's always going to be overwhelming. The fact that you're here today is great, and you're making the right decisions. If you're in your BPC year, absolutely apply for pupillage if you feel ready to. Now is the time to do so. So, really get thinking about that. And if you're sort of in your earlier stages, say in your final year of your undergraduate degree or your GDL per se, I would say treat pupillage as a practice. If you feel ready to go, if you feel like you've got some experience under your belt, you can draft an application, absolutely do it. Get yourself used to the process, the pupillage gateway, written applications, and you might even get yourself an interview as well. And the chances of getting pupillage before your bar course are significantly lower than when you study the bar course or afterwards, but it's not impossible. People do get it, so give yourself the chance if you feel like you can without your grades sort of falling behind. But definitely don't put too much stress on yourself. So I thought it'd help if I talked a little bit about my path to pupillage. Growing up, I had a sort of drama, theatre background. I was a theatre kid. I've seen all of my local theatres, musicals and performances. So that can kind of show you where my career was going from at the very start. And I did study law at A-level. I got an A star, thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't really have any idea of what a barrister was or the differences between a barrister and solicitor. I kind of just knew I enjoyed law and I wanted to pursue it further. So I did. I did an LLB. I did this at a non-Russell Group university. And I used to be really insecure about this. I got good A-levels, I got good grades. But I was always kind of scared if the chambers would ask me why I went to a non-Russell Group university. If anybody is in the same position, that has never affected me once. I've never been asked why I went to a non-Russell Group university. I'm going to a brilliant chambers. And I would actually argue that it's helped me because I had a great experience. So yeah, I really enjoyed my undergraduate degree. I enjoyed the academic elements of it. And I started to sort of focus my studies more on crime. So I took criminal evidence modules. I sort of participated in mooting. And I wrote about UK counter-terrorism laws in my dissertation as well. I actually only decided at the start of my third year that I wanted to be a barrister. I knew it was something that I really wanted to do. But before then, I kind of just didn't think I was good enough. So I didn't really want to sort of put myself in there and go for it. But I kind of just thought, what's the worst that can happen? Let's just do it. So yeah, I was always sort of involved in like the society and extracurriculars, but I took the plunge at the start of my third year and really committed to the bar force then. I did decide I wasn't quite ready to go into the BPC straight away, just because of the lack of experience due to lockdown. Any sort of work experience was so difficult to get at that time. So I decided to take a year out and paralegal. That was actually the best decision I have ever made. I thoroughly believe this. I'd have gone into the bar force before my paralegal year, and personally, I just wouldn't have done that well. It allowed me to gain so much experience. But I did apply for pupillage during my first few months as a paralegal. As you can see, I didn't have too much success. I submitted one application to the chambers I'll actually be going to, but they did not give me an interview. And if you read that application now, I'd actually be embarrassed. It was not great, but it did give me the sort of experience of getting used to the process, and I learned how harsh it actually was. In the next sort of few months, I applied for an inter-court scholarship. I fortunately got one. I joined in a tenfold, and I undertook sort of work experience, mini pupillages in crime, and at the chambers I'll be going to as well. So I also got some real life advocacy experience. So I kind of went to my firm and said, I think, I'm leaning towards the barrister route. Can I please have any sort of advocacy experience you can give me? And I ended up doing sort of minor hearings in county courts as well. So that really bolstered my application. And it also gave me the confidence I needed to have to succeed at pupillage as well, and to succeed at the bar course. But yeah, then I started the bar course. It was a very stressful year. People were telling me it was going to be the worst year of my life. It was not. It was fantastic. It's stressful. It's hard work. But by the time you get there, this is what you want to do. So every moment is just like, it's just so motivational and inspirational, and it's exciting. And then pupillage came around. I applied for 8 different chambers. I got 3 first-round interviews, 1 second-round interview, and 1 offer. I then sort of did all my qualifying sessions on my bar course as well. And I was actually called to the bar just 2 days ago, which was very exciting. And then, of course, I'll be starting my pupillage next September. So I feel like no path to the bar is the smoothest. You're going to hear different stories from everybody. But it has been a long road. But it's all exciting, and I feel like you've just got to celebrate the little wins along the way. Okay, how do you select chambers? Of course, use the Pupillage Gateway. Every pupillage should be on the Pupillage Gateway. Websites like Legal 500, Chambers and Partners can be great to identify sets and their strong points as well. And then once you've sort of identified sets and narrowed them down, I would go to Chambers' website, have a look, see if you can find any blogs, news reports, cases they've worked on, just information about them. Utilize Chambers' website, and also do the Bader Junior test, or otherwise known as stalking, in a way. Go to Chambers' website, go to the members section, scroll all the way down to their most recent tenants, and even their pupils if they've got the pupils on there. Ask yourself 2 questions. Are you right for them, and are they right for you? So what are the backgrounds of the most recent tenants? What university did they go to? What scholarships do they have? Where do they come from? But also look at what work they're doing, what cases have they worked on. And you can even do that up to the most senior members. So, senior barristers, KCs, is that where you want your career to go? It can be really, really helpful to identify if the chambers is for you. And that's not to say if their most recent tenants don't look like you or haven't been to the same university that you shouldn't apply whatsoever. If you want to apply, you will absolutely be good enough. But it can kind of just give you an indication of what type of people they are hiring or taking on, Also, you should be sort of comparing chambers, and narrowing them down. There's lots of options, and you can't apply to all of them, of course. So for me, I knew I wanted to stay in the Northwest, so that massively narrowed down my search. And I also knew I wanted to practice in crime, so that, again, narrowed down my search. Again, have a look at things like the application process, of course, the baby junior test, the pupillage awards as well. It is a job at the end of the day. You want to know how much you're actually going to be getting paid. And their approach to pupillage and tenancy. So a lot of chambers now will take on pupils with a view to offering them tenancy at the end. So unless you make sort of a huge mistake, which fingers crossed you don't, you will get offered tenancy at the end of your pupillage. But there are still some chambers that recruit more pupils than they can offer tenancy to. So your pupillage will be a little bit of a competition to secure that tenancy spot. It just depends what environment you can thrive in and what feels right for you and what suits your personality. You have to be organised. It goes without saying, you'll have so many drafts of applications, so many chambers to select, and you've got to keep on top of it. Colour-coded spreadsheets can be great for selecting chambers, tables. I also grouped all of my applications for individual chambers in sort of online Outlook folders. So the chambers I actually applied to, I had about 11 drafts of my written application in the end, so they needed to be all kept in one place. So of course you didn't submit the wrong one. And stay on top of it as well. So I wouldn't submit all your applications in dribs and drabs. You might prioritize your favorite sets, which is a completely sensible thing to do. So you draft your dream set, a top set first. But it might be that when you get to your 8th application, you think of an experience that you think, oh, that actually might have worked in my first one. But if you've submitted it, then of course you can't change it. So have them all ready to go. And then I submitted mine about 2 days before the deadline, just to account for any sort of technical issues as well. Grouping applications just before we move on. So a lot of chambers will ask you sort of, why do you want to be a barrister? Why you make a good barrister? These questions can be really, if they're the same, can be great to draft together. It can save time. Be careful, don't mention another chamber's name in a different application. I'm sure you've been told that before. Of course, it will mean your application is just struck out. And you want to sort of tailor your applications to that chambers and to the practice area you're applying to. So it might be that you need to amend them, but it is something that can save time. And this is just a little example of how to sort of select chambers if you've got those options, and how to review them there. I just thought I'd touch on mini pupillages slightly. I would approach mini pupillages in the same way you approach pupillage applications. Ideally, you want to be applying for mini pupillages around your second year of your law degree, maybe first year if you're feeling really proactive, and in your final year as well. You really do want to get them done before bar school. But having said that, I did do one during my bar course. I did that in the December and I started in September. And it was a lot of work. I did have to rearrange a few weeks of reading and work. But it worked out and it was all fine. But you want to approach that with caution, I think, because the bar course is busy and you want to prioritise getting those grades and getting out the other side. But yeah, mini pupillages, usually it's a CV and cover letter. Your CV should be 2 pages, size 12 font, and it should be neat, concise, clear, without error, and relevant to the practice area as well. Your cover letter ideally should be split up into 3 parts. So aside from your introduction and conclusion, and if you want to include those, it should be split into why you want to be a barrister, why you would genuinely make a good barrister, and why you want to do a mini pupillage at that chambers. And yeah. And that's also, I would say, how you should approach any chambers for pupillage, and ask for a CV and cover letter as well. And that is a good way to go. In terms of approach to applications, any claim you make on your applications should be based on evidence. Think like a barrister, think practically, and always back up anything you're saying. So every answer should include evidence and experience. And the 3 submissions sort of, again, should thread through your whole application. So the same with meaning pupillage is, once you've drafted your application, maybe you just have a look back over it and ask yourself, does every answer show these 3 things? Does it show that I want to be a barrister, that I'll make a good barrister, and that I want to be at that chambers? So definitely something to think about. I thought I'd just talk through some common questions asked on most pupillage applications. Why do you want to be a barrister? You absolutely want to show you know what a barrister does, so your understanding of the bar. It can be great that you watch Suits and you then sort of wanted to pursue a career in law. It's very exciting, but that's not the answer they want to see. Of course, even if your answer is Suits, there will be more experiences that you've developed since then that genuinely show you understand what a barrister does. So exposure to the profession, mini pupillages, marshalling, solicitor work experience, mooting, anything that you can show you've seen the life of a barrister and you understand what they do, and that's furthered your motivation to go to the bar. You have to get that in there. But of course, you've got to remember the realities of being self-employed. So only about 20% of barristers are employed. So you have to be realistic about what your life is going to look like. You know, you're not going to have a fixed salary. You're not going to get that sick pay, that holiday pay. And you need to know that, and you need to show chambers you understand that as well. So I analysed actually why I wanted to do this. So I kind of just approached it like as if a friend said to you in the pub, why do you want to be a barrister? Think about what answer you give to them and then develop it. So don't actually answer don't answer how you think chambers would want you to answer. Think about what it means to you, because that will be the most persuasive, and then develop it and embellish it with your experience. So for me, I developed 3 reasons. They were performance, intellectual challenge, and responsibility. Just be careful if you're answering sort of performance, advocacy, anything like that, you may get asked why you don't want to be a solicitor advocate. So definitely have that in mind. Why do you make a good barrister? So I put together some sort of qualities as a sort of like umbrella demonstration of what a barrister should be, or what qualities you should be displaying on your pupillage applications. And to answer questions like this, you need to link these attributes to your experience and use evidence to display them. So intellectual ability, you need to be able to think on your feet. You need to be a cut above the rest. You need to be able to adapt, change your argument, be logical, but be free thinking, be flexible. You absolutely don't need an Oxbridge first. If you've got one, fantastic. But you do need to show a degree of high intellect in whatever way you can. So grades, dissertations, research projects, prizes, just know how to spin your application to show that you've got the intellectual ability needed. Integrity and professionalism. Ethics is huge at the bar. You will be examined on ethics in your bar course, and you'll also be examined on ethics during your pupillage as well. You're expected to act with integrity and professionalism in your personal and professional lives at all times. So that is incredible and incredibly important to get on an application. Interpersonal skills, of course, as a barrister, you're building a business. It's your responsibility to liaise with and be likeable to solicitors and clients. And these people need to be able to rely on you as well, particularly if you're interested in the criminal or family bar and you're dealing with people in really vulnerable and difficult situations. You need to be that support system for them, and you need to be able to thrive in that environment as well. So anything like pro bono, voluntary work, or even just work involving people, I found that working at my local pub was something I talked about more in my applications and interviews than any sort of mini pupillage or any sort of barrister-related experience, because it showed and developed those interpersonal skills. And the bar is, of course, a pressurized profession, and you need to be able to work under pressure. And every day there's going to be a deadline, there's going to be a brief, there'll be last-minute work, and you need to be prepared for this. You need to be prepared to show this in an application as well. So part-time work, juggling commitments, anywhere where you've shown that you can work under pressure in your situation now will show that you've got the capability to do that at the bar as well. And with that comes commitment. As I'm sure you'll all be aware, the bar is not easy to get into. You absolutely need to be fully locked in. Every single obstacle that is thrown at you, you need to be prepared to fall down and get back up again, and fall down and get back up again, and keep pushing. Even when you get pupillage, even when you get tenancy, if you have a bad day, if you lose a case, something's going on in your personal life, you need to be able to come back the next day and there'll be someone relying on you to do your job to the best of your ability. So commitment and motivation is so important. And like they say, anything where you've exposed yourself to the profession, many pupillagers, marshalling, sitting in court even, and communicating that in a really informed way in an application form can be great to show your drive. And sound judgment as well, and of course you'll be constantly making decisions as a barrister. They're not only going to affect you, they're going to affect others as well. So you need to have great judgment skills. And last but not least, oral and written advocacy. You're going to need to be a good advocate by the time you get to the bar. Of course, you're going to be doing this a lot in terms of oral advocacy. So anything on an application form like mooting, drama, theatre, public speaking, debating, negotiation, anything where you've spoken to an audience, you've captivated them, you've engaged them, you've persuaded them, can be great to show oral advocacy. Written advocacy is a little bit more difficult to get before bar school, where you're actually taught written advocacy. They're not going to be expecting miracles. Yes, it's great if you've written a dissertation, articles, research projects, prizes, but your application itself will be a form of written advocacy. You're judged on your pitch as well as your content, so make sure you pay attention to that as well. You also want to target your answer to this question to the practice area you're applying to. So for crime, you might emphasize commitment, say oral advocacy, interpersonal skills, or for example, if you're going for commercial, you might prioritize intellectual ability, sound judgment, and written advocacy. Why this chambers? I'm conscious we might be closed for time here, so I'm going to move past this really quickly. It is a difficult question to answer. For me, the location of chambers was important. If you can answer this question honestly and practically, if you want to stay in the Northwest, why do you want to stay in the Northwest? Are you committed? Have you seen the court system there? Have you had experiences with chambers, mini pupillages, contacts, networking? Anything like that can be great to get under this question. Chambers cases can also be a great thing to use. Be careful, of course. You might reference one in an application and the barrister that worked on that case might be the barrister interviewing you. So you're going to get probed on it and you're going to be expected to know the answers inside and out. And any experiences and skills in chambers areas of practice as well. So just a little bit on application tips. I'll be really quickly here because we've got a few slides to go. You want to be factual, use evidence, back up every single claim you have, use simple language and be specific as well with your experiences. Think like a barrister, avoid sort of any excess adjectives, anything ideological or abstract that may sound great in an essay, might not sound that great in an application. You want to be straight to the point and use your evidence in every single question. Don't repeat, don't waffle, omit words you don't need, get straight to the point and start with your strongest points as well. They do not want to know your weaknesses. They want to know why you'll be a good barrister and why you'll be a good barrister at that chambers. So make it clear to them as well. Also use the STAR method and the active voice. So situation, task, action, result for every competency question. And make sure you're not saying sort of things like, I was able to do this, or I was given the opportunity to do this, or this opportunity allowed me to. It's I learned, I observed, I researched, I drafted, straight to the point. And remember who the reader is as well. It will be a barrister, so your application needs to be flawless. Make sure you get people to review it before you get to those final stages. So just quickly on interviews. Absolutely prioritize maximizing your interview opportunities. So I applied to as many sets as possible without compromising the quality of my applications. For me, that was 8 applications. That was the maximum I could do without sort of compromising the quality of them. Equally, if you can send out 20 strong applications, do it. And get mock interviews in as well. They are painful. They are a pain to organise. You will be nervous. You'll fumble your answers, but they're so, so important. Do as many as you can. So by the time you're in that interview room, when you get asked a question, you're on the ball and you know what to say. Predict and practice your questions beforehand. So things like, why do you want to be a barrister? Why do you want to work in this practice area? Why this chambers? I literally put my phone on my desk, recorded myself, watched myself back. It's not nice. It's actually awful. But the more you do it, the more precise your answer will get. And obviously you don't want to use a sort of script, but you can actually see how you look when you answer these questions and pick sort of apart your answers. Make sure your personality comes through as well. I know it's difficult and there will be a lot of nerves, but by the time you get to that interview day, you need to hype yourself up. Get a good playlist on, dress to impress. By the time you're in there, you're ready to go now. This is it. So think about it like that and sort of enjoy it as much as you can. And your personality will peek through. The interview begins from the moment you walk into chambers. Technically it doesn't, but you want to make a good impression. You want to be nice to everybody you see. Have a smile on your face. Be willing and ready to go as well. Structure your answers and prepare crib sheets for advocacy exercises as well, so you can just whip one out and you're ready to go for that. Virtual interviews, don't have your sticky notes all around your laptop with a script. You want to treat it like an in-person interview. And eye contact as well. If you have a virtual interview, be looking at the camera so you can maintain eye contact. Learn from your mistakes as well. If you can remember everything that was asked and answered in your interview, write it down so you know for next time. Just some helpful resources before we do finish up. I can't emphasize enough how much you need to use other people. Get the feedback on your written applications. Send it to as many people you trust as possible. Organize those mock interviews. Use your support networks. And if you choose to study at ULaw, make an appointment with the employability team. I promise they are amazing. Pupillage and how to get it, that's a really useful website as well. It does what it says on the tin. It is a little bit harsh in its guidance, so take it sort of with a pinch of salt, don't take it personally. But it's really, really useful to know where you're up to and where you're going. And some websites I found as well, and you could sort of make a note on them. They were the chambers sort of I was more interested in. But if you have a look on chambers websites, they may have pupillage guides, podcasts, forums. Sign yourself up to every single one you possibly can. They are like cheat sheets to what they're looking for. So they help you tailor your applications. Legal Twitter can be really helpful as well. There's a really sort of supportive community on there. And podcasts I found. My predecessor also did a podcast with the University of Law where they talk about everything from start to finish of pupillage. Equally, the Pupillage podcast, Law in Action, and chambers, your chambers that you're interested in might do podcasts as well. I watched my Future Chambers podcast multiple times, and I sort of knew them off by heart by the time I got to the interview room. So not that you have to do that, but it can be useful to know as well. So yeah, that is all from me. I know we're sort of short for time, so I will be at the ULaw booth. So as you go into the main hall, just to the left. So if you've got any questions, please do feel free to come over and ask me. I appreciate it's a lot of information, but I do hope you have fun at the fair and utilise your time as much as you can. Good luck, everybody, and I hope you do well at this pupillage cycle.
Yeah, thank you.